All right, good stuff. All right, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our Teachable Moments. Here, Al Mujahid, coming to you live today from MT Youth Center, the Maruf Center for Youth Innovation. So, one, that you joined us. Two, I'm extra glad because we're running a few minutes behind, running into some technical issues. But today being the first official day in the city of Milwaukee, where we are on a safer at home order. Thankfully, we're one of the essential businesses providing social services, distance learning to really connect with our audience. So if you're here, thank you for being here. Feel free to share this page with your friends, whether it's on social media, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it may be, wherever they can benefit from, please share. We all know sharing is caring. Now, just to let you schedule, one, every single weekday at noonish, maybe a little bit before, might be a few minutes after, but at noonish, we're going to come to you with the things that you're going to be learning this week. And then I'll come right back and talk to you a little bit more about leadership 101 and why it's so important. Now, again, this is for everybody, even though many of our youth clients and students, grade to high school, and even just past high school, early college years, we want you to be able to feel comfortable. If they're locked in today, you want something else to maybe get away from you, do something together, no problem. Invite them to go ahead and take part in our teachable moment today, because I want it to be a little more interactive. So feel free, questions if you have the chat box on our YouTube channel or right on the page in the bottom, or subscribe to our list, or if you view it right now. Okay, so let me introduce you to Mr. Jesse Rosales. He's going to just a few of the different things we already have lined up and scheduled for you during our incredible live stream. Jesse.
Thank you, Brother Nathir. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Jesse Rosales. Proud to be here. I'm the director of the Maruf Center for Innovation and Youth Programming, and I'm very excited on where we're going with this opportunity. Unfortunately, all of us are locked down because of the coronavirus, and I know a bunch of y'all are just like tired of being at the house, tired of watching TV, wanting to do some new. I know a bunch of y'all are just missing us from the center. So what Maruf has done is that we're going to go ahead and see if we virtually reach out to all our members, doing some virtual mentoring. We have on the schedule is like what Brother Nathir had stipulated, that we're going to have academic hour every day, Monday through Friday, starting at noon till 1. And the subjects that we're going to cover are English, literature, math, and science. So this is all geared toward school age and maybe early high school, but I'm sure all of us have time in our hands. But why don't we get back to the basics? Why don't we get these refresher courses so that when school finally does start up, we'll go ahead and be ready. But we're not going to only bore you with the academics or lead the academics. We've got some other programming scheduled every day. So we're going to try to keep it how it was when everyone was at the center. So Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, we're going to offer chess, virtual chess. So I have Mason, Jeremiah, and Evan. They're going to come on a regular. We're going to be playing virtual chess. So we'll have 15 minutes of instruction of chess, and then we'll go over some techniques, and then we'll actually play somebody virtually one-on-one over some games. So that's going to be Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. That's our mentoring through chess initiative. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're going to offer what Brother Nathir was talking about, leadership discussions. So it's going to be a take on when everybody was here during the center, when we do leadership discussions, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we're going to keep the same format going on. And we're pretty excited about that. So currently, we're going to offer chess on Fridays, and then we're going to have the village leadership discussions on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. That all starts from 3 to 4. So we'll have academic instruction from 12 to 1, and then a little lunch break, and then we'll come back online from 3 to 4, and we'll go over our mentorship programming. We have some other things that we have lined up depending on how long we're going to be locked down. We've got some cooking courses that are going to be facilitated by a chef. Maybe you can help your parents out, maybe get lunch together for your siblings, or maybe creative ideas, coming up with some dinner, some breakfast. And then we're also thinking about maybe even doing an interactive movie where we can go through Netflix and have the chat option and go back and forth. We are also going to reach out to our members on a regular basis to let them know what we're doing every day, and just to reach out. If anybody needs assistance, I'm still here Monday through Friday, and you can go ahead and call Leonard 414-455-8329. With that being said, I thank you for tuning in today, and check us out on a regular basis. We got nothing else to do, but we're here for each other. We're at a time where we need to come together as a community and be there for each other, because there's a lot of stress going on. Together, we can form a strength. So with that being said, I'll pass it on to my element there.
Good stuff. Thank you, sir. All right. Perfect. All right. Now, I won't say we're going to have anything else to do. We actually have a lot to do. So this is what we're going to really discuss. Really focus on these few points I'm going to share. Now, the first thing is this. Let's go. Or you watch this on a mobile, you watch on a laptop, whatever it may be. So you're streaming it. So the very first thing I want you to ask, what have you been procrastinating on? What have you been saying? I just don't have enough time to do it. I like to do it. My plate is too full. I'm just too busy. So ask yourself that. Is it eating well or learning how to eat well? Is it working out? Got some pounds to shed? Is it that you want to learn another language? What is it? Think about it. I know it's different for everybody, but many times we give ourselves excuses. And one of my mentors told me a long time ago that excuses are just poor reasons to be useless. The only thing about excuses is it only must be good enough for you. What do you mean? You say, sometimes people talk about, I need to make some more money. I need to do this, or I need to learn to do such and such, or wish I could go on vacation. And they start saying things, and what happens is they should all over us. It's like they should all over themselves. Yeah, I should do this. I know I should be eating better. I know I should go get more rest. I know I should do this. I know I should do that. I wish I could do this. All kinds of stuff that should all over themselves and blame it on stuff like time. And since right now we have a month, at least, personally, I think it's going to be longer, but let's say it's a month. Governor even said we got 1 month. We're going to do safer at home, try to contain the spread of this COVID thing and everything else for our health. Fine. So what have you been shooting all over yourself about? Do that now you have the time to do it. See, the first part of lead, just like any type of change, any type of growth, is awareness. Awareness. So what do I need to do for me? Because the better person I become, the better father I am, the better husband I am, the better community leader I am, son I am. So the first step is awareness, meaning I'm not perfect. I still want to grow. I still have aspirations. Well, here's the funny thing. You now have extra time. I now have extra time. If languages I want to learn, I can now invest in myself with no excuses. Nobody's bothering me. Now your schedule freed up. It might have been taken with school. Like, okay, well, 8 o'clock to 3, I'm going to school, I'm doing this. Then I have to get back, then I have to do homework and all that kind of stuff. Well, not that it's just gone. No, you should still be enriching yourself, because schooling is for you. Personal development. You take that with you for the rest of your life. But what is it that you have an interest in, that you're thinking about, that you just couldn't do because of time? Or at least that's what your excuse says. Because going back to what my mentor said, with your excuse only has to be good enough for you. He said people talking about they need to make money, and he was making $200,000 or $300,000 a month at the time in business. And he was sharing how he would tell you have to participate in your own rescue. Now, this is a guy who was a 2-time felon. He came from the slums and the sidewalk and everything. So he was trying to tell individuals, he said, most people won't participate in their own rescue. He said, I out and I'm saying, hey, I want to tell you about this and share some information with you that changed my life. The guy said, well, I can't make it weekend. I have to do some errands and stuff I couldn't do during the week when I was at work. So he was like, you told me that you had to take out the garbage. I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, taking out the garbage, whether it's mowing the lawn or fixing the back door, if there's something that's important to you that changes the quality of life, but you can't make it because you have to take out the garbage. You see that contrast? That means that your excuse only must be good enough. But now is not the time for excuses. Now's the time for leadership. Now's the time to rise. Now's the time to grow. Some of the times I saw this image recently, reminding me of an old saying talking about, think we've been buried. We are in this darkness. We're smushed down and have all this pain and these challenges just under the dirt until we've been through things before, until we recognize we've overcome before. We've had pain before. And the saying goes that, sometimes the world may clamp down on you. You may feel you're surrounded by darkness and that you've been buried. But the amazing part is, Allah Ta'ala, God, buried a seed. And what that seed requires you to grow to burst through the ground. You don't have any control of the elements. You can't control the wind, the sun, the rain, none of that. The only thing that you can control is what's in you, what you're going to bring forth to the world. So the first step is awareness. What do you want to learn? Because see, there's a process. If more people have learned other languages, whether it's Spanish, whether it's Arabic, whether it's Italian, or say whether it's Swahili, whatever it may be, it's a process. And since you're at home, and if you are watching this right now, that you have access to the internet. So if you have access to the internet right now, you're already on the top half of the population. You're already blessed beyond measure, because if you have the internet, you likely have running water in the house. And even though 77,000 of houses in Milwaukee have these lead laterals that prayerfully the next mayor will help get out, but in general, your water's clean and it comes from your tap. It's not dirty water that leads to all kinds of other diseases and people are dying of right now. So we have the opportunity to be home with the electricity that comes on the fridge, with heat that comes into our homes. So that goes into the second point. One is awareness. Two is gratitude. Be grateful for what you have. The believer, but you have these immense blessings around you, let alone talking about your sight, ability to comprehend, where there are people who don't have the opportunity to eat them anymore. Maybe they were abused, or they were taken away in accidents, or they weren't born with it. So gratitude is important. See, it's hard to complain when you're in a state of gratitude. It can do well anyway. It's better, as the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, that it's better to the one who does not have what you have, the one who is considered beneath you, if you would, the one that's not as blessed as you are, than to look at the one that has more than you are, where many people become ungrateful. And that is a very important function of leadership. However, you won't have the ability to lead other people well or effectively if you can't lead yourself. The only person you can control is you. So that's pro. Can't control anyone else. Believe me, I'm a father of 10 children. You control none of them. You might have temporary control. You can't control any of them. You couldn't control them in the womb. If you seen a pregnant mother 8 and 9 months and see elbows and knees and all kind of stuff, when a baby trying to get out wanted freedom. You try to swaddle a baby, try to hold them for their own good, so they may not scratch themselves and everything. They will fight. They want freedom, so you can't control them. They're not here to be controlled. Just they're a trust in our care for a certain amount of time to empower. The very first person, the person you are with 24 hours a day, the person speak to more than anyone else on the planet ever is you. So leadership starts and begins with you. So if you know you're supposed to be in, if there's a safer at home order, a stay at home, shelter in place, whatever terms you want to use in these different states, and you're in a non-essential background, you don't need to go out if you don't have to, but you might want to just buck it just because, then that lack of discipline. We can only take our own report cards. So you might get a report card in school. Now here's the thing, and here's what I love about the structure. With school tells you, this is the curriculum, here's the syllabus, here's when the semester ends, here are the quizzes and the amount of tests we're going to take, this is what you're going to need to do to pass this class. So they have it all the way structured on out, all the way throughout. Now, they can't plan for something like just happened now. However, some schools are already ahead of the curve. That means they exhibited great leadership. Some schools were already online, so there was no problem. So my fourth daughter is about to graduate high school online. without a problem. They didn't have any interruptions, that stuff. Some were behind the curve. This, again, not down talking to school, but many times when there's a bureaucracy, there's a challenge, and usually it comes from leadership. So if you're able to lead yourself, different trends, you can be in front of things. You can already build and win at things in advance. So what does that have to do about leading yourself? We're going back to the very first question I asked you. What is it that you want to do or that you want to accomplish? What did you want to learn? What were you shoulding all over yourself about? All right. And you know what I'm saying? Shoulda, coulda, woulda, shoulda did this, shoulda did this. Now is that time. What's stopping you? An excuse? A reason why it can't be done? So if others have already done it, what are you going to do now? You're going to excuse it away? See, there are two types of pains that we all are going to go through pain. But we determine whether or not that it is suffered or it builds us. See, when you work out and you're working out, and I know I need to work out and everything else, so I've been doing my thing, took the 50 push-up challenge today, and hopefully some other brothers and stuff will get on it. But so we need to work out, right? So if I'm going to do that, not a lot of people like to work out, even though they want more money, a better body, to lose fat. Okay? So with that being said, what does it take? We do things. One, eating better, because abs are really made in the kitchen, not in the gym. And working out yourself up right and get strength. Basic stuff. We know this. It's not that we don't know. It's that we don't do what we know. We have more information, more books, more documentaries, a plethora of information all over the place on how to get in good shape, become alkaline, all of this stuff. Yet over 60% of people in this country are still obese, many more obese. And after smoking, obesity is chasing with the largest number of deaths and mortality. So what does that mean? Discipline and leading yourself. The two types of pain in particular I'm talking about is the pain of discipline, which weighs ounces, versus the pain of regret that weighs tons. We hear about that a lot. See, many people sometimes they get in the marketplace and they sell or they chase money or they grow their businesses and neglect their family or they neglect their health. So many people will chase money their life, chasing wealth, get sick, and spend all this money trying to get their health back. So it's important for us, self-discipline, self-control, awareness, gratitude, knowing what we want. And I know it can seem vague. Maybe you want to be better. Sometimes people mistake me for being an extrovert, like being in front of the camera. And in reality, I don't. I'm more comfortable on my laptop behind the scenes. See, but I had a mentor, and I would encourage all of you to take advantage of the mentors you have here and throughout the city. And I've had several mentors, many of them in person, but many more in books, on audios. So my mentor said, listen, and I had a home-based business going on and stuff and was doing pretty well at it. He said, borrow my belief in you if you must. I believe enough in myself. So I had to borrow his belief in me that I could do better, that I could do better presentations, stand in front of the room and speak and everything else. So I was nervous. I'm a light-skinned black man. So when he had and introduced him, which takes all of 30 seconds, I was done in maybe 7. So I went up there, I turned pink and red, I was flushed just because there were like 80 or 90 room and I had to introduce him. But people would rather die than be part of public speaking. Are you serious? Come on. So there was a skill I wanted to learn. So what I did was I took, okay, and I'm paying attention to my mentors and many different people on stage and when they're training and I'm sitting there. So he walks to this side of the room and he looks at almost everybody in the audience and there's a connection where he makes it look like he's talking right there. And then he does this thing where he tells a story and then pauses in the story. The ladies and the way they present as well. So I'm paying attention. I'm taking notes because I want to get better. I knew the time for me to get better was the present time. I know I wouldn't get that time back. I don't want to go through the same thing that I went through as a child. I want my children to go through the same thing. A little bit about my backstory. I'm the oldest of 6, Puerto Rican and black. Poverty on both ends. It doesn't matter if we're talking about tortillas and butter or mayonnaise sandwiches. We knew how both of them coming up. You know, times like this were a little interesting, but my children don't know yet, at least, go to a high school, Washington High School, and stand out in a long line to get food from Share, work for the food in order to go ahead and get it, right? We had food that just said beef on the can. Or we had the big old huge blocks of cheese that I was actually pretty partial to because they were good grilled cheese sandwiches. But, you know, being background, I didn't have much confidence, and it wasn't a big nurturing environment in my home. The norm was that most homes were dysfunctional. I was one of the few, or my parents were together until I was about 12 years old. I was at their wedding. They were 16 when I was born, right? And I was going the wrong path, had bad influences, but I kind of swayed over to the left after my father left. There was a lack of structure. All right. So it was like, look, Mike, my name. They were like, hey, Mike, look, by the time you're 21, you'll be locked up a dead. By the time you're 20, you hear this over and over and over. How do you think that affects your psyche when people don't believe in you? I'm telling you that. Not to me, because I was like, if I make it to 21, I'll be good. I grew up in the 90s, you know, late 80s, 90s and stuff. So it's a story. I didn't have many people to believe in me. So when I had a mentor believe in me myself, that raised me up. So instead of just giving him an introduction, now he wanted me to do the first half of the. I took his belief. I was looking at the success we were having in the home-based business. I was at growth. I was buying better suits. I enjoy Super 150s. I can wear those all day because they don't feel like little crazy shoes, right? So my confidence is now building because somebody else's belief. And giving energy back, building businesses, and having a great time. So with that, I was able to change a trajectory of my life to be able to achieve some things that I wanted. I wanted to be able to be home, be at all of my children's births. And thank God, alhamdulillah, I was able to be at every single child's birth. I actually delivered 3 of them, one with the help of a midwife, but I still caught the baby and everything else. But the other 2, delivered them. That is one of the scariest things in my life, but definitely a blessing. And it's a whole nother story in and of itself. So what is, let him go to his uncle, he gets money, he can learn some things. Yeah, kind of. I did learn some things, but I was also in a place that was, you know, heavily involved in gang culture, a lot more than Milwaukee. You know, so I'm in the Wild Hunters, I'm in spots in Chicago, selling watermelons and mixing with the people and so on and so forth. I learned a whole lot more from some real gangsters, some real G's. I brought some of that stuff back here. Okay. But I still was able to learn things, learn the discipline of getting up early and mastering the morning, which is what leaders do. You'll notice that many leaders who head powerful companies or are heavily involved in leadership and personal development say, you know, we're part of the 5 a.m. club. Get up 5 o'clock in the morning. I remember when I was younger seeing Marine commercials. I think it was the Marines or the Army, probably the Marine. They said we do more before 6 a.m. than most people that do their whole day. I was like, what? But then I was with my great uncle. My mother wanted me to learn some small lessons. Well, large lessons, actually. So he would get us up sometime 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning. We would go and unload a watermelon truck that takes about 2.5 hours, sweating, pumping 80,000 pounds of watermelons in a stand or on these different trucks so that they can go out that day and sell. So we did. So after we got done with that, washed up, ate breakfast, got out on a watermelon truck for about a 12-hour day, sometime 90, 100-degree temps. So I learned that discipline. This was from someone who came from Mississippi, like many people did, great migration, came up north through Chicago and Milwaukee, couldn't read or write till he was in his 30s. And every now and then he would drop some seeds of wisdom along with a lot of other foolishness. But some of those seeds of wisdom included that, you know, he said, he put them to the side one day. I saw some guys that came and they were looking very flamboyant, looking like dope dealers. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't, but it was early 90s, probably were. This whole cocaine age. So my uncle put him to the side and said, you know, come here, boy. He said, you see this ring? And he had the ring upside. He had the diamond on the inside of the palm of his hand, or on the inside of his finger. He said, the only reason I wear this is because your auntie gave it to me. That's it. It's the wedding ring. So on the inside, he had it. So all that you could see on the outside was the band. He said, you know, if I want to buy 15 Royces cash, I could. But it's not about being flashy. And you will see him know it. Financial independence of what he's done with the land and a whole bunch of other things and different investments and so on from somebody who was illiterate, who left with virtually nothing, my great-grandfather's farm and everything from down south. But he had to invest in himself and he had to grow. And the way he did it was through business and learning the game of watermelons and investing and owning land and everything else. So he was trying to put me up on different game. And I didn't recognize him until years later. I was a teenager at the time. So I was still foolish, still very hard-headed. But then I recognized one very important thing, which is this next step. You have the power. You have the power. You have the freedom of your decisions. Your decisions are either going to take you closer to what you want to do or become, or further away. But you have the power to determine those consequences. Consequences can be rewards. It can be punishment. As a juvenile, as a teenager, much of mine were punishments, if you will. Many decisions I made weren't decisions. So much so, yesterday I talked to my cousin. It was his birthday. He turned 43 years old. That's how old I am right now. So he turned 43 years old yesterday. He gave me a call from Fox State. He's locked up. He's been locked up since he was 18 years old in the adult system. Before the adult system, he was locked in 15, he was 16, he was 17 in what used to be Wales. And then he was out for his 18th birthday and was locked up later on that year. He's been locked up ever since. This is somebody I used to kick with all the time. All the time. But I decided I want to do something different in my life. I knew something had to change. So after getting in trouble as a juvenile, I changed my life. I was looking at Islam, I was studying all religions because I was raised Christian. Kindergarten, 10th grade, Lower Lutheran, Wisconsin Lutheran, and so on. So I know the Bible back and forth and through. So I did all organized religion, went on my own search. I wasn't interested. I'm a Muslim now. I wasn't interested in Islam. First of all, the guy about Islam, that wanted to talk to me about Islam, not teaching me. He wanted to talk to me about Islam, but he was El Rukin. That's on the whole other side of the track. El Rukin's vice lords, all that stuff. Me, I was GD, so that already clashed on the streets. So I wasn't in it. Furthermore, the way he was living life wasn't righteous to me. I respected Muslims because I didn't know much about them, but I respected them. Okay, so the way he came, I wasn't feeling it. I told him, I'm not giving up my women, my weed, or my baby back ribs. It's not going to happen. I'm not interested. And so I just had to introspect when I was 16 years old. I had to ask questions about everything around me. Why I believe what I believe. Again, going back to this self-discipline, this self-control, because we have the power of choice. And I don't know what I was reading, but I came across something. It was dealing with death. I was like, man, you know, a few of my friends had died back then. They were young. One of them died when he was 12. And I was like, he had drowned in Lake Michigan, had a few friends get, violently get killed. And, I'm contemplating and thinking about, what's after this life. And I wasn't agreeing with what I was taught in school. So I just kind of went on a search. So long story short, again, tell you wasn't interested in Islam. This decision I'll ever make, that if there's something after this life, after I die, that decision must be the number one right decision. So I went on my own search. I don't know what your search may entail or if you'll even go on it. But you had a power of choice. See, so due to my belief system, I distanced myself from my cousin. So they were still out there hustling. They were jacking people and everything else. Had I done that in the past? Yeah, I was a savage. Yes. I decided I wanted something different. I want to live in a different fashion. I want to do something all the way different. And I looked at Malcolm in 1990 through the movie before I read the book, and I saw how he went from being called Lucifer and Satan and all this stuff, and he transformed to this upright person that was assertive, that was to the point, had this low schooling, but was at Harvard defeating people in debates. And I was like, that's a man. I respect. Didn't know what he believed in. I wasn't interested. Excuse me. I wasn't interested in Elijah Muhammad or anything else, but I knew something had to give. And what I had to give was me. I had to study introspection. So when I studied and I had become Muslim, I decided to distance from my cousin. So when I was chasing these females, it's funny because Tupac, before he was murdered, did a song called I Ain't Mad at You. And one verse in there talks about, oh, you're a Muslim now. No more dope game. You want to go to the mosque and not chase tail on. I'm like, yeah, that's real. This is like a year or two after I become Muslim. Like, yeah, this dude had life. And next thing you know, Pac got assassinated. So my cousin, though, locked up. Last time I saw him free, we were in a fight. This was September 15th, 1995. Shortly thereafter, he was locked up. Almost 20 years now. 25 years. Many of you watching this ain't even 25 years old, knowing how everything has changed on this side due to the decisions that he made, because he had the power to make that decision. And it was 3 armed robberies and stuff like that. And the challenge comes in, well, nobody got killed. There was no homicides or anything like that. But just to show you how the law is and how it's a challenge when it comes to leadership, which goes into another level. We talk about personal leadership. I'm gonna jump to what's called political leadership very quickly. For those of you who are parents, for those of you who are looking at what's going on, and it used to be 10 years. That was the penalty. You robbed armed robberies, 10 years. Okay. Well, Tommy Thompson in this Truth in Sentencing, and Clinton came was this mass incarceration push, and we know what communities were affected the most. But because many of us didn't really utilize our power to vote, these people were in office. So Tommy Thompson flipped it from 10 years to 20, doubled it. So now armed robbery went from 10 years to 20. Some of you say, okay, well, armed robbery, get that. Okay, fine, let's say that. Let's say that's the case. But then he decided to double it again. So now it is currently 4 times the length it was back in the mid-90s. So now armed robbery is 40 years. Actually more than murder. Think about that. It's more than murder. And since my cousin was doing armed robberies at that time, he did 3. 40, let's do some math. 40 times 3, 40, 40, 40. It's 120 years. So the judge told him he had 120 years consecutive. And I'm not an English teacher, but consecutive will run together. Meaning you do 2/3 of this truth in sentencing. You do 2/3 of this time, then you need to start working on 2/3 of this time and 2/3 of this time, which means that's a life sentence. You're going to die in prison. And he said concurrent, you do 2/3 of this time, that will account for all of that time. For 40, 40, 40, you do 2/3 of one, that includes all of them. Now, a judge did say concurrent. He said consecutive. So the decision he made that with his friends, because he wasn't the only one. One is my cousin, 2 is other friends. They got 100 years and 110 years, and all of them got 3-digit years, over 100 years each for these 3 armed robberies. So what happened? They're still locked up over 25 years. They were all 18 and one was 19 years old. Life sentences. So this right here that we're dealing with, this type of lockdown or self-quarantine is a fantasy for them. Now he's finally eligible for his first parole hearing eligibility in 5 years. So you have done 30 years locked up as an 18-year-old. And your brain, your prefrontal cortex of your brain, now neuroscience lets us know that it isn't even done developing until you're 25 years old. That's your decision-making part of your brain. The part that allows you to think before you speak, to pause before you make a decision. This is why it's so important for you right now in your life. Ownership of it. That's called self-efficacy. That's a psychological term. Don't worry about the term. That just means you have the power. You accept responsibility for where you are right now. Now, if you're an adult, you were determined to be here 5 years ago. You may say, what do you mean? Oh, it's really easy. If you don't like the position that you're in, job that you're in, the school that you're in, 5 years ago, you made that decision or some people made the decision for you. So if you're working at a job, let's say you're 25 years old. So at 20 years old, you made a decision to be at a job that you didn't. How? Because all of your decisions add up, which means 5 years from now, if you look at what I talked about to begin with awareness, what you want to change, what you have been putting off, procrastinating on. And the first step, let's say it's a new language. Are you able to learn a Spanish and Arabic, something like that in 5 years? Be able to speak it, communicate with individuals? Answer is yes. Yes. So if you don't know it in 5 years, you made a decision not to move on it on a daily basis or weekly basis or consistent basis enough to have made that change and accomplish that goal. So where you are right now, take responsibility for it. It's okay if you're ignorant at first, as long as your goal is to become intelligent with time. One of my mentors told me, he said, there's a big difference between being ignorant and being stupid. Ignorant and being stupid. I was like, okay, well, we use it interchangeably where I'm from. So what do you mean? And he told me, and I didn't research the whole etymology and everything. He said, stupid from an old English word, stupor. And there's another term, you think of stupor, it's almost kind of like drunken or in a bad state, but stupor comes from an old English word. So in London, it's really, really foggy. So as you have all of this stuff in front of you, you really can't see clearly. So he said that's where the word stupid really comes from, the base. So I'm like, okay, interesting. See, ignorance is just not knowing. We all start not knowing, and we have natural instincts. No fault in that at all. But to be stupid means told you, but you made a different decision. Someone's already recommended and already challenged and already, asked you to do better. They encouraged you. They pointed things out and you chose not to. That's just being stupid. We don't want you to be stupid. We don't even want you to be average. As we share at Maruf and through everything that we do, is what I do with outstanding personal relationships or what have you, we want you to be outstanding. We want you to reach the higher levels. See, average, nobody strives for average. No parent says, okay, look, I want you to go ahead and be average. All right, Ali, go to school and be average today. You want to see that's average. We want what's best, right? We strive for what's best. We go to the store and get some, give me the average food. I'm good with that. Yeah, the average water is okay. We want what's best. That's natural. So we should do that in our own lives, and we have the power to do such. Average is nothing but the top of the bottom, or it's the bottom of the top. So we want you to reach that higher level. So let's recap. 1, first step to any type of change is awareness. So become aware of what it is you want to do or you've been putting off, or what I call the should all over yourself list. Because we don't want you shoulding on yourself no more. Don't even, it almost sound nasty, because it is. Stop saying should, and just go do, execute. All right? That's personal power. If it's starting a business, if you write a book, it's time to get to writing. You have time now. There are books you haven't read, you haven't invested in yourself. What? It's time to read more now. Language you need to learn, it's time to grow. Because in times of dark, you feel you've been buried. Know that you are a seed. And the only time something is going to change is if something new comes into your life or something new comes out of you. And we have that power. So if you say, oh, I don't have mentors, Mr. Rosales already let you know, you can call. We have mentors here. I'm one of the mentors here as well. You can pick up books. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Kiyosaki. You want to know about the situation that's going on now where everybody's coronavirus and they're failing to look at the economic collapse that's going on and change the monetary system? Well, get the guide to Gold Silver Mike Maloney. You can get it for free. Yeah, download it for free. goldsilver.com/free book. You want to learn more about relationships and leadership? Jim Maxwell is the leadership boss. He's written more books on leadership than anybody else. Has an entire section at Barnes & Noble. Oh, you can't go to Barnes & Noble? Guess what? The Milwaukee Public Library has opened everything for you for free, especially during the shutdown. You can watch different videos, get audios, you can get them, everything. Now, I know a library card is pretty expensive these days. I know. Because, it's free. So no excuses, right? None. So let us know. Let Maruf know. If you're not already on our email list, on the bottom of this video it says subscribe. You'll be able to get reminders of when we're going live on a daily basis and get different worksheets from our different instructors. Let us know what is it on your should list that you decide to act on, so we can help keep you accountable. We'll work together, whether it's public speaking or something else. It took me a while. So you may hear, there's no notes in front of me. This is extemporaneous speaking. So there's nothing that I'm going over and I have to hit these different points. But I know that, one, I know my process. I know that process works no matter where you are in the world, where you're viewing this from, what your background is. Again, I was the one that said by the time you're locked up and dead. I'm telling you, I still get a little nostalgia when I tortillas cooking on the stove and throw some butter on it. That's really all I need. Thankfully, now we have other stuff inside of it. Okay, as you can tell, right? So now it's not mayonnaise on the bread anymore. Now it's stuff to go on it now. So all in all, I don't like, if I can do it, you can do it. What my dream is not yours. Yours inside you for whatever reason. But manifest that. For example, all these challenges, the pain and everything else is really going to determine what you're made of. And we know iron sharpens iron. So Netflix has lots of documentaries. Many of them can be very inspirational. And I know they just released one with Madam C.J. Walker, the first female millionaire, not the first black female millionaire, the first female millionaire in this country was a boss. Was a father and grandfathers. They fresh out of slavery, man. Millionaire. Back then, over 100 years ago. Something like 112 years ago, yo. Millionaire. Inspirational story. Look at the ups and downs. Apply it to you. The funny thing, your book right now, you're the author. You're the author. Now, can you imagine watching a movie, reading a book, and it's just from the beginning, and it goes up, things just great. And it's, oh, this is boring, is what it was. There's no drama, no turmoil. There's no challenges. It's just this, just float through. That's called the lazy river. It's cool to cruise on it, lay on it, but your life doesn't go ups and downs. You're not experiencing the full emotions of life. You're going to have pain. You're going to have tragedy. Live long enough. You will see people die. My brother, Rahimullah, was killed when he was 16 years old. Case of mistaken identity. There was a guy who was my friend that they just got into a big fight and stuff like that on 40th and Burleigh. Got to a big fight. They jumped the guy. He was from the wrong set. They jumped him. He looked like me, tall skin. He was tall, light skin, curly hair. Now he ended up getting killed 2 years later, but at the time they jumped the guy. The guy was 32 years old. He hid in the alley. He had a gun on him and stuff like that. My brother went out to go to the store. My brother was taller than me, light skin, curly hair. The guy jumped at my brother. They got into a fight. My brother got shot a couple times. Killed, 16 years old. You will experience tragedy in your life. All of your relationships will end in tragedy. The one you love may pass, or you're going to pass. The one who raised you may pass. You know, we're all going to go. So we need to utilize the time that we have right now. And since we're the authors of our own stories, the great thing is the next page is blank. The next chapter is however we choose to write it. So we can take this time in this whole coronavirus economic crisis and sit here and be like, whoop, nothing to do. Let me just sit here, whatever. Or I'm going to work on me so I'm unrecognizable to myself 30 days from now, 60 days from now, whether it be with your physical health, your emotional health, your mental health. It's the power in the decision that changes your life. You know, I read a quote that said, a wish changes nothing, but a decision changes everything. A wish, people wish all the time. $1 million, wish I could go on vacation, wish I could wish I could do that, grow old, gray, regret everything. But you caught Angela Judy episode, you sat in front of the TV, you had it on all night, wasting your life instead of living it. Life is for the living. And wish. But a decision, it's funny, because decision comes from the word decide. And that's from them decide words. What I mean by that is it can be serious. When you think of decide, you think of homicide. You think of suicide, fratricide. You think like that. So it comes from this decide, which I think goes back to Greek or Old Latin, which means to cut off. So to decide means you cut off other options. So I want you to decide. Make it cut off the other stuff. Cut off the other stuff so you can move forward. That's the power you have. Whether it's leadership in academia, pursuing a passion, other languages, being a leader, public speaking, whatever it may be, whatever you want to excel in is your power to make that decision. And remember, you're going to have pain. You want a better body? Guess what happens when you work out? When you work out, you create small micro tears throughout your muscles. And those micro tears come back even stronger to strengthen you. They help burn fat and your metabolism increases. But you might be a little sore, but you know that the goal is worth it. So the only other question is, are you worth it? I can't answer you. I knew that I was. I knew that my wife, my children, I knew they deserved it. So I had to be better. Not just for me, because we can give ourselves excuses all day. But ain't nothing like a father who gives excuses. Nothing like a husband who gives excuses. So for me, it's absolutely worth it. You have to make that decision for you. Whether it's just you and you have siblings, parents, you have no children or family, anything like that, no matter what, that seed has been planted in you, created for a reason. So make that decision to cut other options out and move forward. The last thing, the last acronym or acrostic I'll leave you with is focus. Focus. And I want you to write that down. Just all caps, FOCUS. Focus. This is what it means. Follow one course until successful. Follow one until successful. Put that goal down, put that dream down, put what it is that you want to do, that you shoulding all about, and follow one course until you're successful. I don't care if you need to watch videos on it. You need to get some ebooks on it. You listen to audio books on it. You're talking to mentors. You ask questions. You're doing the research. You get that information, and then you execute. You try. If something doesn't work, you try it again. Go a different method. Go around it. If you need some inspiration, I don't care whose biography you watch, whether it's Malcolm X's, whether it's Madam C. Walker's, whether it's Benjamin Franklin's, or Robert Kiyosaki, Napoleon Hill. Doesn't matter. Get whatever inspiration you need to continue to motivate and grow out to who you're destined to become. All right? That's my advice to you. That's Leadership 101. And remember that awareness, knowing you had a power in that decision, being grateful, being patient with yourself, and knowing that excuses for a reason useless. Use your life to your advantage and to empower and equip other excuses away from them. So with that, join us at Maruf for our teachable moments every day, this time, this internet channel at maruf.com/live. So I'll leave you with, remember, a wish changes nothing, but a decision changes everything. Peace. Assalamu alaikum.